Yeah, hi everyone. Today is August 2nd, 2020, and here is one more practice test that if you want, you can take on matter. So the first question is, what is density depend on? Is it depending on weight, volume, mass, and volume? Now, if you know the formula for density, you will definitely get the answer for this, okay? As ice cream melts, its molecule dash. What does it happen when ice cream melts? Absorbs heat energy and moves faster apart, absorbs heat energy and moves closer together, releases heat energy and moves faster apart, and releases heat energy and moves closer together. Again, remember what happens when ice cream melts and what is energy, what kind of energy is being given. Is energy is absorbed or is it released is what you're supposed to identify, and based on which is it farther apart or closer together. Okay, read the question through. Just don't just read it fast and try to just do A, B, C, or D. That's not what we do. We need to read the question, try to analyze each of the answer choices, and then cross it out if you think that is not the answer, so that you have one or two left which can be the potential answers. Okay, that's how you try to get to the right answer. Question number 3. You knock your drink over in language arts. You notice that the liquid spreading across the floor until it finally seeps in the carpet. Why does this occur? So why is it happening? The liquid evaporates and as soon as it touches the floor. You think so? I don't think so too. Liquid needs a container to have shape. Only the floor allows liquid to move that way. Liquid has a definite shape. So we know that liquid does not have a definite shape, right? So I can cross that out. And so also I can cross a couple of them and then get to my answer. So when you read the question thoroughly at least 3 times, and then work with the answer choices by reading them through a couple of times. And then of course you'll have at least 2 of them or 3 of them that you can cancel out, and finally you might have the one answer that should be supposed to be circled and said, here, yes, I got the answer. Okay, remember the goal here is to get the right answer. How do I do that? Is how slowly and carefully you read the question and the answer choices. If something has mass and occupies space, it can be defined as having what? Atoms, elements, solid, or matter. So again, think through and then make your right choices. The blank point is when a solid changes to a liquid. The dash point is when a liquid changes into a gas. So how can you say this? The dash point is when solid changes into a liquid. So what can that be? Think through. Think through. A is said in A they say boiling and melting point. In B they have given melting and boiling point. C they say boiling and freezing point, and D they say freezing and melting point. Again, I cannot give the answers. This is for me to tell you how to read through the question, understand the answer choices given. Just don't, I saw the first one, it says boiling and melting. I'm going to say circle that without even going to the third, fourth, and fifth answer choices. If you just circle whatever you feel like, then that will be a wrong choice, right? So make sure that you read the question as carefully as possible. Sixth question. All living and non-living things are made up of combination of elements, liquids, crystals, or oxygen. Obviously, I can cancel out the term crystals, because living things and non-living things, definitely living things are not made up of crystals. So that answer choice C itself is wrong. See, that's how I eliminate. So I can cross it out. That's how I know that out of 4, I crossed out 1. The remaining 3 could be potential answer choices. Which best represents the phases of water from 1 to 3? Solid, liquid, gas, liquid, gas, solid, liquid, gas, liquid, solid. So which one is the representing the phases of water? What is the most common solvent? Is it air, nitrogen, water, or fire? How does an increase in temperature affect solubility? That means when the temperature is increased, how is it affecting the solubility? How faster does it go? Does it dissolve faster? Does it dissolve slower? That way. It allows less solvent to dissolve in the solute. It increases the amount of solute needed to dissolve in the solvent. It increases the amount of solvent able to dissolve into the solute. It does not affect solubility. So whenever there's a temperature increase, the solubility also has an effect. So here when the D answer choice says it does not affect solubility, that's totally wrong. So I can cross that out if I were to be you, okay? In what phase of matter are molecules of a substance farthest apart from each other? Is it solid, liquid, gas, or crystal? Question number 17. The distance between atoms is often affected by temperature. The diagram shows water at 3 different temperatures. So let's see. Here we go. Ice, steam, and water. So they're all water actually, but then they're all at different temperatures. So which order of diagram indicates decreasing distance between atoms? So we know that, this is a solid, this is liquid, and this is liquid, and this is almost in the form of steam, so it's evaporation. So which order of the diagram indicates decreasing distance between the atoms? So the solids have atoms close together. Is it liquids that have atoms close together, or is it steam that has atoms close together? And based on that, you have to arrange, is it 1 2 3 or 3 2 1 or 2 2 2 3 1? Okay. An example of a property of matter that can be observed without changing the identity of matter is, so again, an example of property of matter that can be observed without changing the identity of the matter is it oxidation, rust, combustibility, or solubility? Combustion is nothing but catching fire. Oxidation is with the amount of oxygen it reacts with the material is oxidation. And then rust is again the same kind, similar to oxidation. All atoms of the same element have different properties, the same physical property, the same chemical property, or the same physical and chemical property. So all atoms of the same element can have what? Okay, so compared to gas, liquids are not easily compressed because particles of a liquid are, what is it? Are they closer together, move faster, have a kinetic energy, have a crystalline structure? So again, look at the answer choices carefully and write the answers. What are often called building blocks of matter? Cells, elements, compounds, or atoms? An object characteristics, an object's characteristic property includes mass and weight, size and shape, physical properties and chemical properties, objective properties and subjective properties. So which is the right answer here? Again, read through carefully. If we have not learned, it's not supposed to be the answer. Which of the following involves a change in the physical property? Baking a loaf of bread, burning wood in a fire, freezing water into ice, and mixing with an acid. Think through again. They're asking for physical properties only. So burning wood in a fire, you have burned the wood completely and the wood is no more and wood, it's become into ashes. So that cannot be a physical property only, right? So that is crossed out. I crossed that out. Then mixing with acid. Again, mixing with acid, what happens? The acid is, reacting with something and then it changes, right? So it's not the same. So again, that's wrong. Which of the following involves a change in a chemical property? Boiling water to make steam, bike rusting outside, a candy bar melting in the sun, tearing a tearing a piece of paper to make smaller pieces of paper. Now, if I were to tear a piece of big paper into smaller and smaller and smaller piece of paper, it's still paper, right? So there's nothing changed there. There's no chemical change. Now, if I were to see a candy bar melting in the sun, it's candy. Candy is getting melted, but candy does not change. It's still candy. If you want to take a thing and then take a stick and not take a spoon, and you can still eat it. Correct. Only thing is that it's on the flat surface. If the surface is neat, you can eat it, right? Boiling water to make steam. So here the water is boiling and it's being steamed, but it's still water. So there's no chemical changes there, right? So the only thing that has a chemical change is a bike rusting outside. So when a bike is rusting outside, the oxygen in the air and the steel of the bike get reacted, and then it becomes a red powdery color appears on your bike if your bike is left out in the open for quite some time. Okay, so now next question is, Sarah has 100 grams of each element listed in the chart below. So we have elements like copper, gold, lead, silver, and we also have their melting point: 1084, 1064 degrees Celsius, 327 degrees Celsius, and silver is 961 degrees Celsius. Now let's read the question. Now these kind of questions will take even more longer time than the previous question. So make sure that you read the question, okay? Excuse me. Okay, so we did that. What would happen if she melted only 50 grams of each element? So Sarah has 100 grams of each element, but she's only going to melt 50 grams of each element. Now, A, the melting point for each element would double because the mass was changed. The melting point for each element would decrease by half because the mass was changed. The melting process would occur more quickly, but the melting point would remain the same. The melting process would occur more quickly, but the melting point would be decreased by half. Now, it says here that Sarah has 100 grams of each of the element, and she's only taking half of each of the element to get half of each of the elements. So now, according to our rules that we have learned, what can it be? Will the melting point change because she just took 50 grams, or will the melting point increase because she has taken only 50 grams, or will the melting point decrease because she has taken only 50 grams? So what can it be? Here she has 100 grams, but she did not take 100 grams. She's only taken 50 grams, but will the melting point, the entire thing could be a big one, right? The question looks like a pretty big question, but the only thing that you have to concentrate here is to know the rules of the properties, right? So the melting point, boiling point will never change. You can have 100 mg of any element, or you can have 500 mgs of any element, but the boiling point will always remain the same for that particular element. Okay, got it? So this is why we have to read the questions very carefully when we answer. Whether it doesn't matter if it's a EOGs or NCFEs, or even if it's a class test, a homework quiz, or a graded quiz, you know, what matters is how much I know the concept and how much am I really working towards getting a good grade. Okay, so make sure that any test given the previous night, you're learning for it. Your teachers are all well prepared, they teach you very well. So at the end of the day, it's your duty to show how good you are in listening to the teacher and actually retrieving all the data that she or he has taught you, and to be a very good student with good grades. Okay, do not memorize things, understand and learn it. All right, guys, I'll post next video, and make sure that you always log in, or whatever it takes, like the video if you can, and always remember to study. Thank you.